The slave market on Proxima Station reeked of desperation and disinfectant. Alexander pushed through the crowd of traders, his jaw clenched tight as he watched the various species being paraded for sale. 3 years working cargo runs through the Outer Rim had hardened him to many things, but slavery still made his blood boil. "Keep moving, human," a Kreth merchant hissed, his 4 eyes gleaming with disdain. Alexander ignored him, weaving between the stalls. He wasn't here to buy. He was tracking a shipment of stolen medical supplies that had somehow ended up on this forsaken station. But then, he saw them. 3 alien girls hung upside down in a containment field, their slender bodies suspended by energy shackles around their ankles. They were Valerians, a rare species from the Delta Quadrant with luminescent skin that shifted between blue and violet. Their long silver hair cascaded downward, and their large eyes were closed in either unconsciousness or resignation. Alexander felt sick. Valerians were known for their peaceful nature and advanced biotechnology. What were they doing here? The slave master called out, a hulking Draxon with scales like armor plating. "Valerian females, perfect for medical labs or pleasure houses." Alexander's fists clenched. He should walk away. He had a job to do and only enough credits to get himself home. But something made him stop. The middle Valerian stirred, her eyes fluttering open. Even hanging upside down, there was a defiant strength in her gaze as it swept across the crowd. When her eyes met Alexander's, something shifted. Recognition, perhaps, or just desperate hope. Then he saw it. On her left shoulder, partially hidden by her silver hair, was a tattoo. Not a Valerian marking, but something else entirely. A human military insignia, specifically the symbol of the 7th Medical Corps. Alexander's breath caught. He knew that symbol. 15 years ago, during the Frontier Wars, that symbol had saved his life. The memory crashed over him like a wave. He'd been 19, freshly enlisted, bleeding out on a dead moon after his squad walked into an ambush. The evacuation ship had left them behind. Too dangerous to return, they'd said. He'd accepted death, alone in the dark. But then she'd come. A medical ship with the 7th Corps insignia had defied orders and landed in the hot zone. He'd never seen his rescuer's face clearly through his fading consciousness. Just remembered gentle hands, a voice that sang in a language he didn't understand, and skin that glowed faintly blue in the darkness. The ship had taken heavy fire during the rescue. He'd woken up 3 weeks later in a military hospital, alive, but alone. The medical ship had vanished, presumed destroyed. No crew manifest was ever found. The official report called it a rogue vessel and closed the case. But Alexander had never forgotten that blue glow, or that symbol painted on the hull. A voice called from the crowd. Laughter erupted. It was an insulting lowball offer. The Valerian girl's eyes were still locked on Alexander's. Her lips moved, forming words he couldn't hear over the noise of the market, but he could read them clearly enough. "Please." Alexander's voice rang out across the market. The crowd fell silent. The Draxon slave master turned, his reptilian face splitting into a greedy grin. "You, human?" Alexander didn't. He had maybe 8,000 credits to his name, barely enough for fuel and food for the next month. But he thought of that night, bleeding out under alien stars, and the mysterious ship that had saved him for no logical reason. He asked. 35,000 credits, the Draxon said, his tone making it clear he expected Alexander to walk away. Alexander's mind raced. His cargo ship was docked at Bay 7. It wasn't much, but it was his. The only thing of real value he owned. He'd spent 5 years saving to buy it, pouring every credit into making it his home and livelihood. "I have a ship," Alexander said slowly. "A Firefly-class cargo hauler, modified engines, clean registration." The Draxon's eyes narrowed with interest. The crowd began murmuring. A ship was a serious offer. "Let me see this vessel," the slave master said. 20 minutes later, Alexander stood in the docking bay, watching the Draxan inspect his ship with a dealer's eye. Every bolt, every panel held a memory. He'd lived in this ship, dreamed in it, fought off pirates in it. "The deal is acceptable," the Draxan finally said. Alexander's hand hovered over his datapad. This was insane. He'd be stranded on Proxima Station with no credits, no ship, and 3 alien refugees who might not even be the person or people he thought they were. But that tattoo, that symbol, that moment 15 years ago when someone had risked everything to save a nobody human soldier. He pressed his thumb to the screen, transferring ownership. Back in the now former slave master's holding area, Alexander watched as the energy field dissipated and the 3 Valarians were lowered gently to the ground. They collapsed immediately, their bodies weak from hanging inverted for who knew how long. Alexander knelt beside the one with the tattoo. Up close, he could see the faint scars on her hands, the kind surgeons developed. She looked up at him with those large, luminous eyes. She whispered in accented standard, "You are the soldier." Alexander felt his throat tighten. She nodded weakly. "We heard your distress beacon." Her hand reached up to touch the tattoo on her shoulder. "This was my mother's ship, her symbol." The pieces fell into place, the destroyed medical ship, the closed case, and now, 15 years later, the daughter paying the price for her mother's heroism, captured and sold because someone, somewhere, had wanted revenge or profit. "I'm Anna," she said softly. "These are my sisters. We've been running, hiding, since the war ended." Alexander looked at the 3 Valarian sisters, exhausted, traumatized, but alive. He'd just traded his entire livelihood for them. He had no ship, no plan, and no idea what came next. But as Anna's hand gripped his, and gratitude shone in her eyes, Alexander knew he'd made the right choice. "Well, Anna," he said, helping her to her feet. "Looks like we're all stranded now." Some debts, he realized, could never truly be repaid, but they could be honored. And sometimes, that was enough.